The world is drowning in noise. Everywhere you turn, someone is speaking, shouting, demanding to be heard. They fill the silence with opinions they haven't earned, with emotions they cannot control, with words they will later regret. They chase validation like starving men chase bread, believing that if they speak loud enough, long enough, someone will finally see them as strong. But strength is not found in volume. Power is not measured in the number of words you force into a room. True authority, the kind that makes men step aside and women take notice, comes from something deeper, something quieter, something most will never understand. It comes from silence. Look around you. The modern man has forgotten how to be still. He posts his thoughts before he's finished thinking them. He reacts to insults with rage, to criticism with defense, to uncertainty with nervous chatter. He fills every void with sound because he's terrified of what might be revealed in the quiet. He mistakes motion for progress, noise for confidence, and constant speaking for wisdom. But the Stoic man, the man who has mastered himself, knows better. He stands in the center of the chaos, unmoved and unshaken, and his silence speaks louder than any sermon ever could. While others exhaust themselves shouting into the void, he simply observes. He listens. He calculates. And when he finally acts, when he finally speaks, the room falls silent to hear him. Because they know that a man who guards his words guards something valuable. This is not weakness. This is not passivity. This is control in its purest form. The weak man reacts. He's a puppet to his emotions, dancing on strings pulled by every provocation, every slight, every challenge to his fragile ego. But the strong man, the Stoic, he chooses his battles with the precision of a general who knows that most wars are won before the first sword is drawn. He understands that silence is not the absence of strength, but the presence of discipline. It takes no effort to speak. Children do it without thinking. Fools do it without stopping. But to remain silent when every fiber of your being screams for release, to hold your tongue when insult demands retaliation, to stay calm when the world begs you to break, that requires a strength most men will never possess. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, commander of legions, ruler of the known world, wrote in his private meditations that the first rule of wisdom is to control one's speech, not to silence others, but to master oneself. He knew that every word spoken is a piece of your power given away, scattered to the wind, subject to interpretation, misunderstanding, and judgment. Seneca warned that we should speak only when our words are better than silence, and how rare that moment truly is. Most of what we say is forgotten within minutes. Most of our arguments solve nothing. Most of our explanations fall on deaf ears. Yet we continue to speak, compelled by pride, by fear, by the desperate need to be understood. But the Stoic asks himself a different question. He asks not, what do I want to say, but what is worth saying? And more often than not, the answer is nothing. Epictetus, who lived as a slave before becoming one of history's greatest philosophers, understood this better than most. He taught that we control very little in this world. We do not control what others think of us, what they say about us, or how they react to us. But we control ourselves. We control our responses, our words, our inner state. And in that control lies absolute freedom. The man who needs to explain himself is a slave to opinion. The man who argues with fools is dragged down to their level. But the man who remains silent, who refuses to engage with chaos, who lets the storm rage around him while he stands like stone, that man is free. That man is powerful. That man commands respect not because he demands it, but because he embodies it. There is a psychology to silence that the loud never comprehend. People fear what they cannot read. They are unsettled by the man who does not react, who does not reveal his thoughts, who keeps his cards close and his emotions closer. When you speak constantly, you become predictable. You show your hand. You give others the blueprint to manipulate you, to push your buttons, to control your behavior. But when you are silent, when you are still, you become a mystery, and mystery is power. The man who talks endlessly is forgotten the moment he leaves the room. But the man who speaks rarely, who chooses his words with surgical precision, leaves an impression that lingers long after he's gone. People replay his silence in their minds, wondering what he was thinking, what he knows, what he's capable of. They fill that silence with their own projections, often elevating him to a status he never claimed for himself. And all he did was remain quiet. This is the secret the modern world has lost in its addiction to constant communication. We live in an age where silence is seen as weakness, where the absence of an immediate response is interpreted as defeat. Social media has trained us to believe that every opinion deserves broadcast, that every thought must be shared, that validation comes through likes and comments and the approval of strangers. But the Stoic man does not live for the approval of strangers. He does not argue with nameless faces on glowing screens. He does not waste his energy defending himself to people who have already decided what to believe. He knows that the man who argues online has already lost, because he has given away his peace for nothing in return. The Stoic scrolls past the bait. He ignores the provocation. He lets the mob rage and exhaust itself while he focuses on what actually matters: his purpose, his growth, his inner fortress. And in doing so, he demonstrates a strength that the perpetually online will never understand. In relationships, silence becomes even more powerful. The weak man feels compelled to fill every silence with words, fearing that quiet moments reveal inadequacy or disinterest. He over-explains, over-apologizes, over-justifies. He talks himself into corners and then talks more trying to escape them. But the Stoic man understands that presence does not require constant narration. He is comfortable in silence because he is comfortable with himself. He does not need to perform, to entertain, to prove. His calm presence is enough. And women instinctively recognize this. They are drawn not to the man who talks endlessly about his accomplishments, but to the man who quietly embodies competence. They respect not the man who reacts to every test with emotional defense, but the man who remains unshaken, who meets provocation with a raised eyebrow or a slight smile, who demonstrates through stillness that he cannot be moved. In arguments, the Stoic silence is devastating. The man who yells has revealed his desperation. The man who insults has exposed his lack of substance. But the man who remains calm, who listens without reaction, who lets his opponent exhaust themselves against his composure, that man wins without ever raising his voice. Because the goal of an argument is not to be the loudest, it's to be right, and more importantly, to be respected. And respect is never earned through volume. It's earned through control. When others lose their composure, when they spiral into emotion and irrationality, your calm becomes a mirror that reflects their weakness. You don't need to attack. You don't need to defend. You simply need to remain still and let their chaos collapse under its own weight. This is the art of war applied to daily life. The supreme warrior wins without fighting, and the supreme man commands respect without demanding it. In the workplace, the pattern repeats. The loud man makes himself heard in meetings, dominates conversations, ensures everyone knows his opinions. And he is often overlooked for leadership, because leadership is not about being the loudest voice in the room. It's about being the most trusted, the most composed, the most reliable. The Stoic man speaks when he has something valuable to contribute. His words carry weight because they are rare, considered, and substantive. When he does speak, people listen, because experience has taught them that he does not waste their time with empty rhetoric. He has built a reputation not through self-promotion, but through consistent competence and quiet confidence. He lets his work speak louder than his words ever could. And when opportunity arrives, when others are passed over, he is chosen. Not because he campaigned for it, but because he proved himself worthy through disciplined silence and reliable action. But perhaps the deepest truth about Stoic silence is this: it is a form of emotional invincibility. The man who reacts emotionally can be controlled. Push his buttons and watch him dance. Insult him and watch him crumble or explode. Praise him and watch him soften, eager for more. He is a slave to external events, his mood and behavior determined by forces outside himself. But the Stoic man has severed those strings. He has built an inner fortress so strong that nothing external can breach it. Insults do not wound him because he does not derive his worth from others' opinions. Praise does not inflate him because he knows his true measure. He observes his emotions rather than being controlled by them. When anger rises, he acknowledges it, examines it, and chooses whether to act on it or let it pass. And most of the time, he lets it pass. Because he understands that most anger is just ego crying for attention, and ego is the enemy of wisdom. This is the path that Marcus Aurelius walked. A man who could have indulged every whim, with the power to execute anyone who displeased him, who could have lived in absolute luxury and decadence. But instead, he chose discipline. He chose restraint. He chose to rule himself before ruling others. And his empire, for all its flaws, was stronger for it. This is the path that Seneca walked, even as he navigated the treacherous politics of Nero's court. He did not survive through alliances or manipulation, but through wisdom and measured words. And when his time came, he faced death with the same quiet dignity that had defined his life. This is the path that Epictetus walked, rising from slavery not through rebellion or bitterness, but through internal mastery. He could not control his chains, but he could control his mind, and in that control, he found freedom that his masters would never know. These men understood that true power is not external, but internal, not loud, but quiet, not reactive, but deliberate. The modern world will tell you otherwise. It will tell you to speak up, to make noise, to ensure you are heard. It will tell you that silence is submission, that restraint is weakness, that aggression is strength. But the modern world is also filled with anxious, unhappy people, desperate for validation they will never receive. They shout into the void, hoping for an echo that confirms their existence. But the void does not answer. It swallows their words and leaves them emptier than before. Do not become one of them. Do not mistake the frantic energy of a drowning man for the purposeful movement of a swimmer. Do not confuse the desperate chattering of the insecure with the measured words of the wise. Learn to be comfortable in silence. Learn to let others fill the void while you observe and learn. Learn that you do not need to respond to every provocation, answer every question, or explain every decision. Your worth is not determined by how well you can defend yourself in arguments with fools. Build your inner fortress stone by stone, discipline by discipline, silent choice by silent choice. When someone insults you, choose silence and watch them expect your reaction. Need your reaction, and when it doesn't come, watch them diminish. When someone demands your attention, choose presence over performance, and watch them realize that your calm focus is worth more than 1,000 empty words. When the world tries to pull you into its chaos, into its arguments, into its desperate need for everyone to pick a side and shout about it, choose to remain still. Not because you have nothing to say, but because you have something more valuable than words. You have self-control. You have inner peace. You have the kind of strength that cannot be given or taken away by external circumstances. You have mastered the one thing most men never will: yourself. The world talks too much. It always has. But the man who rules himself doesn't need to speak. His silence carries more weight than their noise. His calmness commands more respect than their pride. His stillness radiates more power than their chaos. He does not need to announce his strength because it emanates from every deliberate action, every measured glance, every moment of composed restraint. He is the stone in the river unmoved while the current rages around him. He is the eye of the storm, calm while destruction swirls at the edges. He is the ancient tree, roots deep and unshakable while lesser growth is torn away by every passing wind. Be that man, still, disciplined, and untouchable. Master your tongue. Guard your reactions. Build your fortress. And let your silence be the loudest statement you ever make.